Nice. So let's get started. Last week I did with a little bit of music, but that didn't really came through very nice. So you can put out some music at your home if you want to have some music in the background, if that helps, to have some nice soft music playing. But you can also do it without, of course. So let's start in a seated, comfortable position. You can use your blocks or your props if you want to. Just sitting on something a little higher helps to elevate the hips, helps to straighten the spine a little bit more. Okay. Then when you're sitting in a nice upright position, you might want to wiggle around a little bit in the beginning. And then once you're settled, you start to close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, you start to settle onto your mat. And maybe if you're very busy or something and eyes closed doesn't really work yet, then maybe just look down at one spot if that feels a little bit better. But if you can, you close your eyes. And you start to notice your breathing. Long and deep, breathing in through the nose. And breathing long and deep out through the nose. Nice long breathings help you to calm your system down, calm your nervous system, your body down, your mind down. Let's start with a little breathing exercise. This always helps to quiet the mind just a little bit more before we get started. This one is called 4-7-8. It's quite easy because you inhale for 4 counts, you hold the breath for 7 counts, and then you exhale for 8 counts. If that is too long, right, then you can make it shorter. But see if you can stay with the rhythm that I'm giving you. You can always make it shorter because if it's too long for you, then the breathing exercise is no longer relaxing, but then it becomes an activating thing to do. So, you know, don't force yourself into holding up to these numbers. But let's see if we can try. So exhale wherever you are in your breath. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath and try to keep your throat a little bit open, and so not too much tension in the throat. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. Hold the breath, but keep the throat nice and relaxed, not too much clenching going on. Slowly exhaling through the nose, nice and slow, making it as long as you can. And we go inhale. Hold your breath. Exhale. Now breathe normally in through the nose, out through the nose. And just returning to your normal breath. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the face, the facial muscles, your jaw. Relax the tongue in your mouth. And bringing the awareness to the legs, the feet, the hips. And that's the area that we're going to work on most today, on the hips. And so let's start to tune in a little bit there. How do they feel? Any tension, any restrictions before we get started? If they do feel very tense, no need to worry. You don't need to adjust it, just notice it. This is just checking out how do you start the class. You don't have to change anything yet. What is your starting position? Two more long breaths. And after your 2 long breaths, you can slowly start to open up the eyes. We're going to start nice and comfortable in a toe stretch. Not so comfortable. But then, you know, we have the hardest part over and done with. So usually when I do the toe stretch, I do it in the beginning because it's such a tough one. Then you have it over and done with. So for the toe stretch, you're pulling your toes under, and don't, you know, in the beginning it's going to feel very intense. It feels right away intense. For some people, like my little toe doesn't really want to bend that much because it's so small. So I help it a little bit to stretch as well, to curl under as well. So you might want to do that too. And when you're sitting on your heels like I'm doing, that's putting even more pressure onto your toes. If that's too much and you already have very sharp shooting pain in your toes, then you can always use blocks. Or if you don't have blocks, you know, you can use your couch or something that is close. And you lean a little bit more forwards. Because if you lean a little bit more forwards, there's less pressure on the toes. It's a little bit more doable. But if you want to, if the toes are okay, you want to put some extra pressure on it, sitting on it can put that extra pressure on there. It's a tough start, intense in the beginning. But it's good to give our toes a little bit of attention. Normally we put the toes into shoes all day, and then they get cramped up into the shoes. And they have little space. And they cannot really move that much in most shoes. And you know, that's why the toes should be able to move. That's a lot better for toes if they can move, right? So it's a good idea to kick off your shoes when you're home. And whenever you can walk bare feet, walk bare feet. And because when the toes can move and the whole foot can move, that gives signals up into the rest of the body as well. Right? We stand on our feet all day, and we're built actually from the feet up. But a lot of times our shoes are not so comfortable. We're cramping our feet into shoes, and especially if it's high heels or something. Those are not the most comfortable shoes. And that's signals up into the rest of the system, up into your body, into your knees, into your hips, and into your lower back. And so this feels very intense right now, but this is actually bringing some love and some attention to your toes. Let's see it like that. Good. So you probably have the feeling by now that they are falling off and that they're turning almost white or black. But we have 30 more seconds to go. And I assure you that your toes are not going to fall off. They will stay on. It will be intense when we go out, but they will stay on. Just a couple more breaths. Almost there, almost at the end. One more long, full breath, and then you're there. Okay, so coming out, we go slowly. Very slowly, you go forwards. Take your time. And very slowly, you lift your toes to uncurl. And very slowly, you bring some movement back. It feels very intense. They feel very stiff. You feel like you can hardly move your toes. That's all part of the deal. That's all part of what should be happening with this pose. After moving your toes for a little bit, and you feel that you can also tap your feet down onto the floor. A lot of people like to do that after the toe stretch. And you feel a lot of tingling going into the toes, a lot of sensations going into the toes after that intense toe stretch. Good. Our next pose we're going to do is the dangling pose. So you can come up to standing. So we're going to stand on our feet and on our toes. And in the dangling pose, we're going to fold forwards just like that. And you can hold onto your elbows or let your head drop and your arms drop, whatever you want to. I'm going to set up the time. So in the dangling pose, we're attempting to have the legs straight. We want to feel some stretch at the back of the legs, at the calf muscles, at the hamstrings. And when you shift your body weight a little bit more forwards or a little bit more backwards into the feet, this can change where you feel the stretch. And so play around with it. Feel where do you need the stretch today. For me, it's a little bit more into the toes today. That feels where I feel a little bit more stretch going on at the back of the legs. And so you choose either of those two positions. And then you relax your head, you relax your shoulders. Let your arms and shoulders become heavy. If there's any back problems or this is too much for your back, you can always use the wall. You can bring your hips against the wall and then lean forwards, or you can turn around and bring your shoulders against the wall, right? So it's whichever way feels okay for you. And if that's still not nice for your back, you could always bring your elbows on your knees, or you could modify by laying on your back and bringing your feet up the wall. But we want to feel the back of the legs. And also maybe a little bit of the lower back and the spine. So we start to stretch the toes and also the soles of the feet. And so we're taking the stretch further up in the back of the body. Then there's one big line going from your toes and then the soles of your feet all the way up to your calves, your hamstrings, your back, and all the way towards your head. So we started at the feet and we bring it a little bit more up. We'll go for 3 more long, deep breaths. For some people by now, your legs are very uncomfortable and maybe they're even shaking a little bit. If that really happens, the wall can really be a good help to lean against. One more long, deep breath. Okay, nice. You can slowly come up, or you could go into a squat position and then maybe move around a little bit. I always prefer, well, not always, but now I prefer this variation of moving a little bit into the squat. Maybe you want to go from a squat to a downward facing dog. If you feel that some movement is nice. In the downward facing dog, you're also still stretching the back of the body. So it might be nice to wiggle around a little bit here. Maybe go high up into the toes again. And have the feeling that they are a little bit normal again. Or maybe you still feel a little bit of the toe stretch. Okay, So this idea that we worked from the feet up, working the back line of the body, now we're going to take that in the front line of the body. So again, we're going to start from the feet with the ankle stretch. And the ankle stretch is the idea to stretch the front of the ankles. I will start at time. Stretching the front of the ankles. For some people, sitting like this is already a stretch. This is good, then you can stay here. But for some people, there's not so much stretch just yet. So what you can do if there's not so much stretch is elevate your knees, right? So you can do that with a block. If you're very flexible in the front of the ankles, then maybe leaning back and holding onto your knees can also be a way to stretch out your ankles. You could also do this one by one. If the balance is really off and it's really irritating to get the balance, you can just do one leg first and then later you do the other leg. Yes? For some people, this also gives a little bit more stretch. So that can be nice, right? Also, if the stretch is intense, it might be nice to just do one ankle at a time first. I'll let you know when it's halfway if you're doing one ankle. Yeah? But some people, most people, all they have to do is just sit like this. There's a different stretch if you let your heels fall out or if you let your heels come closer together. Right? So you can play with that as well. If your feet are a little bit more wide, falling out, or if your feet can be, your heels, I should say, can be a little bit more together. For me, that intensifies the stretch when I place the heels a little bit more together. But for some people, sitting like this, just sitting like this is already a lot. Is already a lot of tension on the front of the ankles. So if that's the case, you can use a blanket, but I don't have a blanket, so I'm going to use my sweater. You probably have a sweater. You can roll up your sweater just a little bit and then place that underneath your ankles. So if you place that underneath the ankles like that, it alleviates the stretch at the front of the ankles just a little bit. So see if you need that. A lot of times if your runners really need that support underneath the ankles because the ankles are strong, but most of the time not so flexible. Okay, so we're halfway. So if you're doing one leg, you switch to the other leg. I'm going to put my sweater back on because it's cold. Just as with the toe stretch, we don't really target this area that much normally. So it can be intense, right? And it's hard to sit still and it's, you know, you have the feeling that time goes very slow. You would like the time to speed up. But if that's the case, if you're getting a little bit impatient, then coming back to your breath really helps. So noticing your breath going in and out through your nose. Trying to keep the breath nice and long. Two more long, deep breaths, and then you're there. Okay, very slowly coming out. Again, you want to lean forwards. This time, I always prefer to now circle the ankles, circle the feet. I have all kinds of cracks and sounds going on now in my ankles. That's okay, as long as they don't hurt. So some people like to do the tapping again, but I always prefer to circle the ankles, but you can do whatever, some movement back into the ankles. And to feel energy going through the ankles, you feel some flowing movement, some sparkly water feeling going through the ankles. Nice. So, like we did with the back body, we're going to go into the front body now. So we're going to go into the saddle pose. Also here, you can do one leg at a time or you can do two legs at a time. It depends a little bit on your flexibility. Again, if you do one leg at a time, I'll let you know when it's halfway and when you have to switch the legs. This is where it's nice to probably is nice to have the bolster, because this can be an intense pose. So separating the feet and then sitting in between the feet. You can also sit on top of the feet if you want that, but if sitting on top of the feet, we already just did it, so it might be a little bit too much to do it even longer. So sitting in between the feet is probably a better idea. Now, where we want to go is we want to feel the stretch a little bit higher up. So we want to feel the stretch up into the thighs, and maybe if you're flexible enough to go back, you can feel it into the belly as well. But the main area where we start to feel the stretch, or want to feel the stretch, is into the front of the thighs. Watch out that there's no pain in the knees. Yeah. If for some people just sitting like this is enough, right? You feel enough stretch in the front of the legs, then great, then you can stay here. If there's a lot of tension in the knees, you can sit on something. Sitting on something maybe brings a little bit more space in the knees, doesn't bend the knees so deeply. So you can always do that. And for some people, it also helps to put something like a towel or a sock or something into the knee crease to create some space at the back of the knee. Okay, if this is okay, but not so much stretch for you just yet, then you can start to lean back. And leaning back, you can just be on your hands, maybe that's okay. If you have blocks and props, then it's nice, then you can use them. For some people, all the way back is too far. You know, if you're flexible enough to go all the way back onto your back with no support, then, you know, go for it, but you need quite some flexibility. So if you have all of these, like a bolster and blocks, then you can kind of like make a ramp out of your bolster, and you can lean over it. Now, if you don't have any of this, but you have your couch closed, then you can also lean onto your couch. Yeah, that's also a great idea. Maybe pull one of the pillows a little bit down so it's nice and soft. And if you can, it's nice to have the head supported. Now, be careful that your knees are not in any pain, that you're gentle on your knees. So you don't want to have any pain, also not just a little bit. That pain in the knees is not something that you want to stretch through. And you want to stretch the muscles above the knee, so the quadriceps and all of that, that's okay. But inside the knee, there's nothing to stretch. There's no muscles there. The muscle of the quadriceps, the muscle of the front of the thigh, it goes over the front of the knee, and then the kneecap is inside that muscle. So sometimes you can feel a little bit of that stretch at the front of the knee, right? That's kind of okay. But, you know, if it's too much, if it's becoming too much, you have to come up higher, so you're sure that you're safe. Okay, so if you're doing one leg, then now is the time to change to the other leg. So doing one leg would look something like this. The other leg is extended out. And we already did the ankles, so it can be a lot for the ankles. I have a lot of flexibility here. There's not a lot of problem for me, but it might be for you. So you can also play with the angle of your ankle. They don't have to point back. If this is better for you, flexing the foot out a little bit, you do that. For me, it gives more stretch even in the hip. But you know, you can play with that. Also, you can soften underneath that ankle again with a blanket or something. So first we did the back body, now we do the front body. And for most people, it's either the back body is tight or the front body is tight, right? One of the two is always going to be a little bit more tight. So some people, they you know, it's kind of like you lean back or you lean forwards, right? Depending on the stretches that you have in your body. So for me, it's definitely the back of the body is more stiff. This is all very easy, comes easy to me. So you can ask yourself that, which one is easier for you? Is it the forward folds or is it the back bends that are, is it the front body stretches that are easier or the back body stretches? Continue with your long, deep breaths. Observing the body, observing what's going on, what can you feel? Three more long, deep breaths. Coming out slowly, and coming out might be hard. This sounds easy, come out, but it's not. Go slow. And what I always prefer is use the hands to come up. Some people can just flop the feet to the front, still laying down. If your knees are okay with that, you can do that. But for me, it's always nice to use the hands. Now very slowly, you can bring the knees forwards again. And it might be nice to bring the knees from left to right, or maybe you want to stretch out the legs, you know, just something to bring a little bit of movement back after the front stretch. Nice. So that last one was really for the thighs, and not everybody feels it into the chest because not everybody is able to go back so far. So we'll do another one just to make sure that everybody has the upper body front stretch as well. So we'll go on to the belly for a sphinx or seal. So laying on your belly, you have your elbows underneath your shoulders. When your elbows are underneath the shoulders, that's the sphinx pose, and you feel some pressure in the lower back. If this is too much, then you walk your elbows forwards. It brings less of a bend in the back, so less tension in the back. But for most people, it's pretty okay to have the elbows underneath the shoulders. Now, if you can do more, or if you, it's not really you can do more, but it's more about, you know, if your body tells you that it wants a little bit more, that it can, that it would like a little bit more stretch, then you can use hooks or blocks or something that you have to elevate your elbows a little bit. So now there's more of a bend in the back, and you feel more stretch in the lower back. Not so much of a stretch actually, it's more of a compression. And so parts are coming together. So you feel that compression in the lower back. And it's a compression for the lower back, but also a stretch for the front of the body. Not everybody feels that because it depends on your tensions in the body. So if you have very tight abdominal muscles, right? You work a lot on your abdominals, then you might feel the stretch also in the abdominal area. Because we really want to have the front body stretch, or as much as we can, it might be nice to come even a little higher and maybe come up onto the hands. Then when we come up to the hands, then we turn the hands out. And so then the arms don't really have to work that much. We can kind of hang into the arms with the fingers turned out. Some people even have the stretch to the flexibility to bring the fingers all the way back. But always check with your lower back. Is it fine for your lower back? Does it feel okay? Is it not too much tension? Your hips, your pelvis, they stay on the floor. They stay connected to the floor. And then you go back into your body, into feeling your body, breathing. Checking that you relax your butt muscles. And if you're not sure, you can always squeeze your butt muscles and let go to make sure that they are relaxed. It's okay that the shoulders come up into the ears and that you hang a little bit in the arms and shoulders. What can you feel? Where do you feel the stretch? Do you only feel the compression in the lower back, or do you feel some opening in the front of the body as well? Sometimes keeping the arms straight like that can be exhausting as well. So if you have these blocks, this high stand of the block, for me, gives me almost the same stretch as when I extend my arms, but it's a little less intense for me, a little less intense for the arms. You can position your head wherever it wants to go, maybe looking straight forward, you're dropping your head. And bring the attention back into the body. Feel in your body. Are there any muscles that you can relax? Are you holding tension somewhere? And slowly let go of that tension. Melt into that lower back just a little bit more. Three more long, deep breaths. And after your three breaths, very slowly, not too quickly. So if you have your blocks, you turn them down first. You go down a notch. And you bring the other elbow down just slowly. And then eventually coming to lay onto your belly. Hands underneath your forehead. Like a pillow supporting your head. Breathe and notice what is going on. You feel a sparkling feeling in the lower back. Is it staying there or is it moving? Is it going down your legs or up your spine, maybe? Just one more long, deep breath. And then very slowly make your way up. Take your time, no rush. We're going to get into our half butterfly or half dragonfly. So the half dragonfly has the leg already far out. So the knees are as wide as you feel comfortable with. And from the back body to the front body, now we're going to go to the side bodies. So we're going to start to lean over that straight leg. So if you have something like a pillow, it can be nice, but probably you don't have that. So blocks or something can also be helpful. So I'm going to start the time first. And then we're going to lean over onto the side. So you can use a block outside or inside your knee and to reach over to the side. Now you can bring your right arm overhead, but that for some people is too much in the shoulder and it's too tiring to keep it that long. So you can also start with your hand in the lower back. And then maybe later, once we go into the last minute or so, you can bring your arm overhead. Unless you know that's not a problem for you, then you can do it. When you bring the arm overhead, it's nice to use the head as a support. So you want to feel the stretch on the side of the body over there, in between the ribs and the hips. So checking out where you want the block to be, behind the knee, in front of the knee. And if you don't have a block, then you just use your hands down onto the floor. So then you just lean onto your hand. So you want to feel the side body stretch, and maybe you don't really feel it in the side that much. Maybe you feel a little bit more towards the back. Then maybe you can try to spin the elbow a little bit more open. It might help to look up so you feel it more on the side of the body. But you can also do the opposite. Yeah? If you feel it a little bit more towards the front, then maybe going a little bit down would help you to get a little bit more into the side body. Depending on where you're tight in the front of the back body, right? But you know that after what we just did. If you do have a bolster, it's nice to use it to lay over. So breathing towards your right side, right outer hip. And getting back into the body again, so checking, where do you feel the stretch? Is the stretch going from your armpit all the way down towards your outer hip? Do you feel that whole line, or can you only feel part of that line? Which is fine if you can only feel part of that line, but try to distinguish the details of what you can feel. You don't really have to put words to it, but it's more like your attention going there, really being present with what you can feel, being aware of what is going on. Just 3 more long, deep breaths. And then slowly coming out. You want to go slow. It's probably also not possible to do it quickly. Just for a moment, bring your leg in and just sit for a moment and feel the difference between the right side and the left side. The right side, in my case, it feels warmer. It feels longer. It feels like I'm leaning over onto the left. My right side feels more energy, more energized, more alive. And I feel kind of like a tingling going around the right side. Feels nice. So let's see if we can get that same nice feeling on the other side. Switching the legs. The right leg is straight, the left knee is bent, or the other way around. You can just do the other way around. So the knees as far apart as they go for you. And then just checking, where do you need the block? Is it more in front? Is it more towards the back? And then reaching the left arm overhead or reaching the left arm onto the lower back. Kind of like an intermediate position for that would be to reach your hand towards your straight leg. So the left hand is then reaching to the straight leg. You still feel a side body stretch. It's a little bit more going towards the back, but it can still be a nice stretch. And for people with shoulder injuries, it's most of the time more doable. So that's the third option for your top arm. With your bottom arm, you can also support your head, because sometimes it becomes a long pose for the neck, right? So if that's the case, if the neck starts to complain, then you can always adjust. So the neck is an area that you want to be very gentle with. So if you feel that, then adjust by looking down maybe, or looking straight forwards. And then again, close the eyes. I find that closing the eyes helps me to feel a little bit better. To feel what's going on this side of my body. Does it feel different from the other side? It's not that I want to know whether it's different so I can adjust it, but it's just to be aware of it. I don't have to do anything with it. This just helps to bring awareness into the body. Helps us to feel the body. We don't have to change it, we don't have to fix it. This is just time to feel it, to listen to the body, without changing it or putting our will onto it. Just let it be. Relaxing the facial muscles, relaxing the jaw. The tongue is not pressed against the roof of your mouth, but just relaxed into your mouth. We have another minute to go, so if you want to use that last minute to bring the arm overhead, if you weren't doing that already, if you want to try that for the last minute, it can be nice. 2 more long, deep breaths. Maybe just bring the arm down first so you can use your hands to slowly bring yourself up. Very slowly. And bringing the leg in so you can again feel the sides of the body. Hopefully your two sides feel a little bit more equal right now. They both feel a little bit more sparkly, I hope. But still, for me, the sensation on the left side, the one that I just stretched, is more obvious, more intense than the right side. Okay. So we started the side body first with a little bit of a higher stretch. Also because that previous pose kind of like prepared the hips for what we're going to do. This is my least favorite pose. Maybe it's not your least favorite pose, but for me it is. It's the square pose. So you can start with your left shin parallel to the front of the mat. And then you can bring your right shin in front. That can be an easier way, a more accessible way of starting this pose. If you fold forwards, you're going to feel the outside of the hips and feel the butt muscles. I already feel quite some stretch right here, so this could be great for me. This could be okay to stay. But if you have a lot of flexibility in your hips, and especially external rotation in your hips, then you can also place the ankle on top of the knee. Now, if I did that, I look like this. You might look like me, it's okay. But then it's nice to have some blocks and some cushions. So if I come forwards, that bottom knee is going to go down. So it's not, I don't stay that high. If I come forwards, my knee goes a little bit closer together. And so then it can be nice to place something in between. Because if something has to stay off the floor and it has to hover above something, then you're going to use some muscle tension to keep that hovering active. And what we want to do in this gym class is relax all of the muscles. So therefore, placing something underneath the knee so the knee has something to touch on and it can ground, therefore the muscles can relax a little bit better. And it's an easier way to get into the connective tissue. Yeah. Folding forwards as much as you can until you feel the butt muscles and the outer hips. If you have like a big cushion of your couch, this can be nice. Yeah, just placing your head, just relaxing. But again, if this is too intense, just bring your leg in front, kind of like a cross-legged position. Just folding forward from there might also give you that stretch. If you don't really have a lot of space to come forwards, then sitting on a block can help. Lifting your hips up a little higher might help you to be able to come forwards. A lot of variations, a lot of options. So choose something that, helps you. And it's also nice to choose, maybe exaggerate it a little bit with your blocks and your props. Make it a little bit more comfortable. Because, if you use a little bit more blocks, then the body can relax a lot better. The pose will be more beneficial. What can you feel here inside your body? I'm saying inside your body because your mind might tell you differently. For me, it is always a mental struggle with this pose. A little bit physical too, but a big part of it is mental as well. So deep breaths, long breaths. Calm the mind, and therefore also calm the body. Two more long, deep breaths. Slowly you can come out. I'm always very happy when the pose is over. It's like, yes. You can make those sounds because you're all on mute. So just I always find it helps extra just to make sounds if I come out of the pose. And then when you're ready, unfortunately, we have to do the other side. Well, you might like it, but um, we can bring the left leg in front or the left ankle on top. This one for me is even worse. Um, so maybe you also, if you have two blocks, maybe you need something under your lower knee and something on your upper knee. Maybe it just looks something like this. But as long as you have the stretch in the hips and the outer hips and the butt muscles, then you're good. Then it doesn't matter how low your knees go. It doesn't matter what it looks like, as long as you have the stretch in the area that I'm saying. Okay, I started the time. I didn't forget about that. This is one of those poses where it becomes a mental struggle, and then you start to doubt whether I hit the timer, yes or no. You started to think, I bet she forgot about the timer. This is a horrible pose. What is she doing to us? But I did start the timer, no worries. Just try to stay with your breath and try to stay with the physical sensations. Don't let your mind make you crazy. Breathe through it and feel the body. Feel the physical sensation. Staying in your body, staying focused with your breath. You don't have to stay forever in this pose, just another minute. Relax your face, relax your jaw. Calming breaths through the nose. 2 more long, deep breaths. And you can slowly come up. You can do windshield wipers, letting your knees drop from side to side. Or maybe you want to stretch out your legs, that can also be nice. Maybe even a downward facing dog, if that feels okay. Finishing off, we're going to come into all fours. And then there we can do a cat-cow pose. The front body, cat pose, stretching the back body. So a cow pose, stretching the front body. And a cat pose, stretching the back body. You can go as slow or as quick as you want to. And you might even like to hang out in one of the poses. You might even like to stay for a little bit. Doesn't have to be in any end pose, can also be in a halfway variation. And just checking the balance between the front and the back. Two more breaths. And then we're going to go side to side. So you look over your left shoulder. It's kind of like you're looking for your tail if you had one. And then you're going looking over the right shoulder. So you're going to move side to side. And also there you can stay still in one of the areas. And maybe also here you find differences between left and right, which is fine, which is normal. We all have those differences. And so no need to change or correct it, but just to feel one more time. The front body, the back body, the side bodies. And then if you want to do a combination, you can do like a circle, circling the shoulders, circling the hips. And it's nice to just close your eyes and feel. So don't think about what movement to make, but just feel your way into your body. And the attention was on the body the whole time. So just try to switch off your mind and try to switch off thinking in poses or patterns and just move. Make a movement that feels nice. Move through your whole spine. Energize your whole body. Nobody's watching you, nobody can see you. So 3 more breaths, just moving your own way. Your very specific own way of moving. And combining these movements of the front, back, and side body. Good. Then from there, slowly we can come to sit. So let's sit in a comfortable cross-legged position. If you want to end later in a savasana, you can do it. I really encourage you to do another savasana. But let's sit first, and then you can make the savasana as long as you want to. So again, you might want to sit on a block or on a cushion. Sitting cross-legged or with your knees forwards, whatever feels comfortable to you. With your hands somewhere on your legs or in your lap. Hands down or hand palms facing up. Whatever helps you to keep the spine upright. Whatever helps you to keep that spine in this upright position where you balance the front, the back, and the side bodies. Where you sit long and tall without putting too much effort into that sitting tall. So if you know that the front body stretch was hard for you, then maybe you have to roll the shoulders a little bit more back and think a little bit more like sitting with a slight back bend, right? To come back to center, to come back to a neutral position. But if the back body was very tight for you, then maybe you just have to bring the shoulders just a little bit more forwards to find back that neutral position. Wiggle, move, find out. With the eyes closed and the face relaxed, the facial muscles relaxed, the jaw relaxed. Sit. How is it now to sit like this? You checked your hips and your seated position before we got started. Check again. How does it feel to be in your body right now? Without any judgment. Just the way it is. It's good the way it is. You're perfect the way you are. Bring your hands together in front of your heart, uniting your left and your right hand in front of your chest. And then start to rub your hands up and down, making heat between the hands, warmth, energy. Rub them nicely together. And if your hands are warm enough, you place your hands on your eyes. And you feel the energy, the warmth of your hands going on to your eyes, onto your face. Slowly start to lower your hands until you can touch your eyeballs with your fingertips. And then rub through your eyes. Massage around your eyes, massage your forehead. Massage your temples, sides of the eyes. Start to lower the fingers and massage your jaw. Bring the fingers down the neck and massage your neck. Bring the hands back together in front of the heart. And bow your head down towards your hands. Bowing down with your ratio for your, bowing down to your heart, to your body and feeling. And the mind is so busy all day. And we use the yoga practice to switch off the mind a little bit and to feel what is happening in the body. And we create some space to let intuition talk, to let your gut feeling talk. And the more that we practice that with yoga, the more that we can trust on those feelings in daily life as well. And trust in your gut feeling. Trust that your body never lies, that your body always tells the truth. So bow with your head down towards your body. And take one more long, deep breath. Slowly you can open up your eyes. Namaste. So if you have a little bit of extra time, I would recommend just for another 5 minutes or so, or if you have more time, take more time. Come to lay on your back. And if you have a nice pillow like that, something under your knees can be very nice. And then just finish it off with just laying neutral on your backs like so. So no need to wave at me to say goodbye, but take a savasana. Give your body the gift of another savasana and just enjoy. I'm gonna switch off so you can decide how long you want to make this. Thank you all for coming, for showing up, and we'll talk. We'll see each other soon, online or in real life. Namaste.